During the time mankind will spend upon these rocky islands, at the new continent which no one inhabits yet, the soil will exist. Torrential rains will fall on those places for days and months, and consequently, in some parts of the continents, wild virgin forests of tall trees with large trunks will grow. And after this coarsening period of mankind, which will continue for around 300 years, they will gain the power of leaving the rocky islands they inhabit, and go to these continents and will start to utilize their forests, plants and other possibilities. For, before that time, neither their thoughts and powers, nor the possibilities and tools they live in will allow them to leave from the places they are at. However, after a period of 300 years of coarsening, mankind will gradually leave these islands, by the primitive and simple stirrings towards development, and by the further few needs which will occur, albeit simple, again, in their instincts, and they will begin to pass to the closest parts of these continents, and consequently, they will enter a very long and slow tempo of development afterwards, in order to render all the ensuing necessities of the establishment of a new world. During this period of development of humanity of the new world, which will continue for 60,000 years, mankind will go through long eras like the ages of stone, iron, bronze. They will overcome some ages like antiquity, Middle Ages. In short, as it has happened with mankind who have passed on to this world from the Mu world, among these two, gradually instincts will pass to intuitions, intuitions to comprehensions, and by the development of true comprehensions, they will gradually pass to communal and higher communal plans. In the meantime, among the ones who remained in the next world, because they could not cultivate themselves until the final stage of transition of the past world, if there are ones who quickened their development and have swiftly prepared for the plan of duty, they will completely leave the world without waiting for the end of the world, provided that they can render the duties they are given, according to their merits, from above. It is absolutely necessary to accomplish a duty, in order to pass to the plan of duty, after 5 or 10 incarnations, that is, during 8 or 10 centuries, then they will reach to the places, where the other happy mankind went, to the higher plans during the past world revolution. And the rest, in order to wait and prepare for the days of the new revolution, which is to come 60,000 years later, will begin to live again within innumerable individual and communal tests and trials, troubles, struggles, wars, combats, deaths, murders, diseases, captivities, prisons, dungeons, inquisitions, madhouses, hospitals, sufferings, hardships, poverties, hungers, heavy duties, in short, within all the uncountable developmental materials, which prepare the human evolution of the world. Life, and are to be gone through across each world cycle history. In the meantime, they will run after many realities named truths, by struggling among apparently opposing beliefs, realities, knowledge, faiths, religions, sects, schools and convictions, with sometimes automatic and sometimes semi-comprehending efforts, and they will fall into many disappointments, deceptions, mistakes and failures. Meanwhile, they will encounter the formidable struggles of life. They will work, they will toil after the attractions of transient but powerfully luring pleasures, while trying hard not to forget their true purpose and goals. They will arrive at the threshold of the next New World Revolution, which will come 60,000 years later, through the very slow and arduous advancing, and only then will the power of leaving this world completely be attained. For, within this very slow developmental tempo, most of mankind will be able to understand and learn the meaning of matter, its limits of possibilities, for what purposes it is, in which degree and ways it can be beneficial and serving to mankind. In short, at the end of every developmental cycle, the world school will close its gates after the graduates it has educated, in order to hand them over to the higher institutions, and will open its gates to the newcomers, in order to educate them in place of the outgoing ones, and consequently, it will be rendered one of its infinite functions, which is cyclical. This is the destiny of not only the world but all worlds, all cosmoses and universe. Here, we would like to repeat this. Regardless of how tumultuous and terrible these states seem, that is, the state of formidability in the appearances of the great world revolutions, this is only seemingly. Here, there is nothing to be afraid of, to be terrorized, to evade or to begin to worry about. For these horrible scenes belong only to the realities which the world matter are subject to. And they will remain in the world with them. To the other side, to the higher plans, none of it, even the particle of a particle, will pass into it. And death is actually a moment of time, which does not inflict suffering and pain. The scene of the events causing death does not actually belong to the essence being. These are states belonging to the body and the world. The human, having died, will leave all of these at that moment, and will even forget their memories. Therefore, hot fires of volcano vents, rampageous attacks of the sea masses, violent tremors of the earthquakes, thundering and lightning are means of death, which are merely toys for the ones who are destined to go from here. This is because the sole thing this cataclysm, which has broken out in the world, can take from mankind is their coarse bodies, which they are already willing to leave here. And mankind are already consentient for this. For humans to be capable of the attaining forthwith the joyful atmosphere of the higher and happy realms, which they may begin to intuit even at that moment, depends on the arrival at the second of death, when they will leave their bodies, and they, according to their ability to comprehend, will await the arrival of this second right away. This is a moment of happiness, joy and deliverance. This is the moment of completion of the world school, which has thousands of years' history of suffering, of the arduous stages of learning, which have passed under heavy conditions, successfully and completely. This moment is a moment when the conditions of successful or failed lives, together with their various fears, sufferings and even torments, which are full of hopelessness and disappointments, will end, and when everything will pass to the illuminated, clear and powerful fields, by walking on the happiest, swiftest and easiest paths. This is a moment of deliverance in every sense. In this tumult which seems so terrible, on this day of judgment which displays such horrible scenes, transition from the coarse hydrogen cosmos, which is a life of shackled imprisonment full of suffering and hardship of tens of thousands years, to a higher realm which is bright and happy, will occur. And to ensure this transition, the only deed left to be done by mankind in the world is to wait for this moment, which is as short as the duration of an inhaling, and to go through this simple, easy and small application as exhaling that single breath. Here, the real disaster will befall those of mankind who cannot die, more correctly, who lose the merit of dying at that moment, but are sentenced to live on, and again, keep guard over a simplified world which will continue on for thousands of years, which is neither a prosecution nor a punishment. This is merely the realized consequence of their desires and passions for matter, which they sought, pursued and even worshipped throughout a whole world life, on the face of the verdicts of the sublime mechanism of destiny. We have repeatedly said that all of these events to occur are subject to great orders and devices, and nothing occurs arbitrarily and in random. The meaning of these words is that all of the events which occur in the world have and are regulated in accordance with the directives and necessities coming from the unitary. Everything is done by the related beings in duty to the plan of duty, in ways and forms judged by the appreciation of the mechanism of destiny, and under the directive of the original necessities, and with the assistance of the original time, in accordance with the degrees of merit, which the beings acquired themselves by working. Therefore, everything to occur is based on major calculations, and very subtle and encompassing technical rudiments. Now, we give the necessary explanation about the technical mechanism, which supports the knowledge we gave above about the sinking of the world. Before we engage this explanation, we will revisit a scientific subject we have previously mentioned. Each of the billions of systems filling the nebulae is constituted by a nucleus, which is called the Sun, and the planets revolving around it, that is, the matter parts of that system. We had previously said that, within such a system, each sphere has its own particular magnetic field. Likewise, we had explained that, although these fields, which are in distinct characters particular to the matter part they are subject to, are in close communication with each other within a system, they never mingle with each other, and thus, any matter part which belongs to a sphere cannot leave the magnetic field of that sphere and enter the magnetic field of another sphere. And in case such a state occurs in the face of an enforcement, it is imperative for that object to adapt the quality of the new magnetic field it entered, and in order to do this, it has to change its own quality mandatorily. So, consequently, various magnetic fields of various spheres within a system interact in accordance with the necessities of the general structure of that system, and are in a state of complete equilibrium. Forms, lengths, shortness, axial directions of the orbits of the matter parts, that is, spheres and the nucleus within the system, the velocities of the planets' axial rotation and of their orbital periods, are appointed by the states of motions which will occur in consequence of the development of that system, and the states of equilibrium among them, and these motions are possible by interactions among the parts, and under the control of the higher influences. All of these, as we said, depend on the developmental and evolutionary degrees of the systems, and they change in accordance with these degrees. That is, the occurrence of the influences between the matter parts of a system in forms, to put into effect the motions in this or that way, vary in accordance with the states pertaining to the evolution of that system. In short, there are various matter parts rotating around a nucleus. Each of these matter parts has its own magnetic field. According to the developmental degrees of that nucleus and the parts which rotate around it, the states of interactions between these magnetic fields vary. So, the whole of the states of equilibrium, which is established as a result of these interactions, puts into effect a magnetic field synthesis, and we call this the solar system. Therefore, each system has a state which contains a complex magnetic field synthesis, and this is particular only to that system. Consequently, it is necessary for it to be in a state of equilibrium with the magnetic fields of other systems as well, and this equilibrium of magnetic field extends, as it gets complex and widened into the nebulae in between. Therefore, between the magnetic field complexes of a nebula, there are also encompassing states of equilibrium accordingly.